Nobody on earth knows how many bands Esteban Flores plays in. I mean, there's Catbite, Matamoska, Mr. Kingpin. He's even played with bigger bands like the Interrupters and the English Beat. What I'm saying is, Esteban is the ska keyboardist. So we figured that Esteban needed his own episode so we could really understand what makes ska's official keyboardist tick. And be sure to get a high five from Esteban when you see him play ska in your town with one of the thousands of bands he plays with.
This one's been a long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
We've been meaning to have this guest on for a long time.
Yeah.
Esteban Flores.
Esteban Flores from, God, I mean, what bands are we even going to attach to him?
Matamoska, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Catbite. He's played on my records. He's basically the glue for every ska band that's currently performing.
Yeah. So basically, if there's a ska band that exists right now, either they have Esteban play with them or on their record, or they don't matter. Right.
One thing the racists have right is these immigrants are coming to steal your jobs. And Esteban's one of them.
Oh, God.
That's from his meme.
Mm-hmm. Do we want that on the intro?
I don't know.
I was listening to your interview you did on Skacast a little while back.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part where you say that you have not bought my book yet. And that you kind of pinned the whole thing on your wife because she said, no more books. You got to read the books you have first.
Yes, that is true. I have, I don't know, I have like at least 3 or 4 more books that I have. And my wife, because we just had a kid, and and she's like, well, have you read these books yet? Because we got to make space for the baby. And I go, oh, no, I haven't. I'll get to those. And then she told me if I don't read them by the summer, she's going to throw all my books away.
Damn.
I know.
By this coming summer?
By this coming summer, yeah. Because, it's going to be half a year. And we're planning to move in July. So she's giving me by the summer. Because then we'll be moving out by then. And she'll probably end up throwing them out or taking them to Goodwill.
Damn. Where are you moving to?
I'm not sure yet. So I don't know when this podcast is going to be released. But I'm quitting my job on the first day of on the Portland date. I'm quitting my job. My job denied my days, and I just kind of thought about it. I was like, you know what, dude? Like, I kind of want to do this for a living. I spent my 20s like grinding crazy on college and working 3 or 4 jobs and playing in 8 different ska bands and throwing shows and recording. I did all these things for the last 10 years, and I kind of just decided I wanted to be happy. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit this job. I'm going to start door dashing because I found out I could make more money door dashing, and I'm going to have a flexible schedule enough for me to tour with whatever band I want to tour with, and at the same time provide for my family. That being said, we don't have family up here in Portland, so we might move back down south. So somebody could watch the baby while my wife works or while I'm out of state or something, because I'll be traveling a lot more, hopefully.
Family is super important when you have a kid.
Yeah. So this I think we might move back down to the Corvallis area, between Eugene and Portland.
Okay. So
I've been living up here in Portland for almost 3 years now, and I'm originally from LA. And yeah, a lot of the ska stuff that I did is based off mostly LA. Lately, it's just been blooming out of everywhere. Like I'm pretty blessed because during the pandemic, I kind of had it in my head where I thought I wasn't going to be doing ska stuff for a while. And then like the Catbite thing blew up, and that was really cool. Cause it's like, you watch a little baby or like a project that you like, you know, it's going to be a good time. And then, it just kind of blows up. And then, Tim hits me up and says I was down to play with them for X amount of shows and take you on the road. It was cool. It was really unexpected. Usually most of the bands that I jump on are like already established, and I got to see the establishment of a band happen before my eyes and like contribute to that. That was pretty cool.
Well, before you quit your job, you might want to pick up a copy of In Defense of Ska, and then you could take that with you when you're door dashing or when you're on tour with your bands.
Hell yeah!
All right, it's a song.
Or he could wait until the second edition comes out.
This is second edition?
Yeah, it's coming out in August.
Damn. In Defense of Ska 2, Ska fights back.
Hear me out. In Defense of Ska 2.
Hell yeah, I'm down.
Okay, so I got a Catbite question for you.
What's up?
Okay. Tim says you eat bagels like an idiot.
He said it like that. He said it like that.
He said it like that.
What does that even mean?
I raw dog bagels, dude.
That's a way. What's the other way of eating bagels?
I don't know. Okay. So we were doing this tour with Mustard Plug, and I fly in and to Ohio. That's the first day in Ohio, so it was like last year. And I'm like hungry as hell, so we all we were like all staying in the basement. I come upstairs from the basement, and there's bagels, and everyone starts cutting up their bagels and putting cheese on it. And I literally just grabbed the bagel and take a bite out of it. And he looked at me like I murdered somebody. I was like, "What do you mean, dude? Like, I mean, when I grew up, we just ate bread just the way it is. Like, I never cut my bread. We will do like bolillos and sandwiches, like cubanos. But this, the bolillo bread, I'll still eat it like that. Like, I'll still eat the whole thing without cutting it. So I assumed I could do the same thing with bagels. Man, is this gonna be on the podcast?
It doesn't have to be.
No, it should be, because I'm gonna be like, man, fuck you, Tim. Hear that shit. Spotify's paying for that shit, Tim.
Yeah. All right, so I want to hear about the time that you met Kenny. From what I hear, Kenny was too shy to talk to anybody in Catbite, but you and Kenny had a little connection by playing a piano together in the Airbnb.
I mean that was already when the connection was established.
Yeah, let's hear your side of this. Let's hear your story.
My side of the story is I was playing the Nice One CD release, and Kenny comes up to me at the very end. I don't know anybody aside the band and maybe a couple people. I had a couple friends that came and visit me from Philly that I've made along the years. But towards the end of the show, Kenny comes up to me, and I knew him as Kimoy, but I did ask him. There's a receipt that I did ask him saying I could call him Kimoy. And this, he told me, hey, my name's Kenny, or call me Kimoy. Tape Girl said hi, and I was like, oh yeah, hey, what's up? I gave him a hug and hoped I saw him another time. And then I started seeing him on Twitter a lot, and he does the videos of his observations of things going on musically with ska and with composition and piano playing. And I was like, man, this cat knows what's up. Like, this cat knows what he's talking about. So so then there was a point where Catbite couldn't fly me over from coast to coast all the time. And they're doing tours to Canada, and at the moment I'm like still kind of working out on my visa situation, because I used to be undocumented, and then now I got married and I'm going through this process of legalization. And so I told Tim, you know what, leave me up to it. I'll find someone that I think is capable. And then Kappa was doing their own search on meanwhile, but I kind of already had in mind Kenny, and I was throwing Kenny's name to Tim because I was like, well, he's in New York, and then he sounds like he knows what he's doing. So I'm going to chance it on Kenny. I messaged Kenny, and then Kenny showed interest, and then I kept kind of playing middleman. And then Tim liked it. Tim enjoyed it, and then I was happy, I was happy to be part of the fact that I made him my sub. And so, he's doing most of the Jeff tour, and I think Kenny agreed to just come and hang out for part of the Seattle dates that I was playing with Catbite. And we were in this B&B for a couple days, and I was kind of enjoying my time off and hanging out. And we went to this B&B, and it was crazy because the whole time we were just kind of just not doing anything. And then like the last day, we find this rehearsal room under this B&B. There was like a whole reggae rehearsal room. Like, this person, I feel like he brings artists from Jamaica, and I think bands rehearse there to back them up. Anyways, the coolest thing about that is that we were washing our clothes, and Brittany found like $1,600 in cash in the dryer, and a bag of weed, like a whole bag of weed. So I was like, oh, this guy's a dealer. So we put his money in the weed to the side, And everybody's walking in because we're like, yo, there's a rehearsal room here. Let's check it out. So then I started playing on the drums and I started playing the congas and the keyboards and the guitars and everything. And like Chris and everyone's looking like, holy shit, where does this money and this weed come from? And then we're like, don't touch it. I don't want to get killed. I see Pineapple Express. I don't want to fuck with people's shit. And so we just didn't touch that money. But later on, we just started going back up, and there's a piano in this B&B, and we just kind of started playing like Catbite songs, and Kenny started like showing interest in like the way I would play my approach to reggae music and my approach to ska music, and then he'll show me his approach, and we're like, we'll like kind of work out a medium of what I think that hey, maybe you want to hear, if you want to play like this, you should play like this, or if if you think this sounds too little, you could add these little variants or these little embellishments to the song just to make it shine or whatever. And then we just kind of started playing Not Your Baby. And then next thing you know, I think Tim had the bright idea of just making like a promo video song. And when it comes to Catbite, like I just tend to be like very impulsive. I'm just a very impulsive guy with them because they give me the freedom of just being myself. So like I know they're trying to show good face, but I'm just like, I'm just gonna go in there and just start jamming out. And I just started jamming out, and I think Kenny was very like intrigued with the way I would dance around the piano. But man, Kenny's killer. Like if Kenny gives me credit, I feel bad because I just don't practice as much as Kenny would. Kenny's amazing. Like I gotta give him his props. And yeah, that's how we bonded.
I see. Did you also bond over Tokyo Ska Paradise Orchestra?
With Kenny, I'm not sure if we ever talked about Tokyo. Like Tokyo's hands down like my number one favorite band. If you want to start a conversation any day with me, just be like, oh yeah, Tokyo this or Tokyo that, and I'll start bringing out albums and names and stuff like that. But I don't remember. We were also partying pretty hard. I don't remember talking to Kenny about Tokyo that much, unfortunately.
So you told the LA Weekly once that your favorite show you'd ever seen was the Tokyo Ska Paradise Orchestra at the Observatory. Is that still your number one show?
You know what? It really was because it's like the first time. It's like the first time experiencing like Tokyo. It was a band that I've like looked up to musically and performance wise since I was like a 15-year-old, and it was like even before I started playing keys with the band, and just it's like seeing it live, it lives up to the hype. Because I feel like there's some bands that like you see them and then like they're when I see them, they're like a lot older, or it was a performance from back in the '90s, and they're older now, and they don't move as much anymore. But Tokyo, it's just timeless. You're there, and they're like moving the same way, and you feel like you didn't lose out on the energy that they were giving back in the day. It was very it was amazing, and then seeing them, I saw them maybe three more times. I saw them like three more times after that, I think, and it just kept getting better because they just have such a long repertoire that they don't. I like almost every single time I see them, I hear two or three songs that I remember, but they kept the repertoire very different. Like every single time, I was like, "Oh, I know this song is from this album," or "Oh, I know this song is from this other album," or "I can't believe they picked this song," like stuff like that.
Is there your favorite album by theirs is the self-titled album?
Actually, it is the Full Tension Beaters. I used to like self-titled a lot, but Full Tension Beaters, it's just my most familiar album. Like it's like it flows. You start off with Filmmakers Bleed, and then it goes on to 5 Days of Tequila, then it goes on to the Enter the Dragon theme. It's just like super so consistent. It's like I like albums that are just consistently in hype in that like in the sense where there's not a single moment where I'm just like, man, it really dragged. It's just like really, it just keeps getting better and better and better and better. I like high energy stuff like that.
Okay, so you have told Project Spectrum that East LA is the best scene in the world, or I'm sorry, in the U.S. I'm not sure if you say world.
I think LA is. I think LA to me. I mean, it's my bias, and people are gonna roll their eyes over it, But I don't give a fuck. LA, I feel has the best scene. I feel it has the best scene. There was this moment, and I was just thinking about it today too, and I was like, I don't know if Adam will remember, but I the first time I met Adam, first of all I was a fan of Link 80, like one of the bands I worked with. We covered Step Up, and I told it to Adam, and at some point I was really interested in like, hey, do you guys just want to like come down to LA? So, the first time meeting Adam was on my birthday, because the show happened to be on my birthday, and it was like at Los Globos, and it was Omnigun and Matamoska and my other band Cafe con Tequila and Red Store Bums. Anyways, I left because it was during my birthday. I played, and my wife just wanted to take me out to eat. But then I did see a post of like Adam still at Los Globos, and he was just kind of like floored by the fact that like kids were still dancing till 1 a.m. And it's like that energy all the time, and I'm so used to it, and it's normal to me. But I don't see that kind of thing outside of LA. I don't see the kind of energy where people are like dancing nonstop till 1 a.m.
We should clarify a little bit there, though. Dancing till 1 a.m., but the band wasn't even playing at that point. It was just the music over the PA.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Like, that's wild. Like, that's next level.
Yeah. So that was kind of the energy I saw. And I remember seeing that post, and I think I was a little more like happy that that point got across more than the show was great. I was like, cool. Like somebody sees the potential. Somebody knows, it exists because for a long time since I was a kid, I've not been like very like it's not like very preachy about it, but I've always been very like, LA ska exists. It's a thing. It's not just stuck in this bubble. It is stuck in this bubble, but it's something that's like real because a lot of people. And I promised today too. I told my wife I wasn't gonna like unleash my hater energy because I'm not a hater. I'm just and I don't want to start any issues with anybody. You could put this on the behind the curtains thing. I don't give a shit. Fucking, I just don't think there's a lot of bands that match up to the hype of an LA ska band. There's just I've heard plenty of bands. I've played with plenty of bands, and there's just not like It doesn't put me on the same way an LA ska band would. I played Skaland yesterday. Not yesterday. Shit. This weekend that passed, and at first I was gonna be like, I'm probably just too old for this. I was working one of the stages. I was working with Clemente, and I'm here thinking like, I'm too old for this, and and all the stage guys, they're all like scene veterans, and we're just talking about like, I'd rather be home and hanging out with my kids. We're all older people now. I'm the youngest one for sure, but everyone's also in their 40s. And the next thing you know, the show starts playing, and I'm walking around these stages on this quick break, and still the same thing. I'm like, nope, wouldn't trade it for the world. This like LA ska is just something so unique compared to almost any other place that I played. Don't that being said, I respect everything else going on in every other part of the country, but I do believe that LA ska should be something that should be explored more. People should really take an interest in like diving to other groups like that because to my point of view, when I started doing the like outside LA ska bands, when I started playing with like Catbite and started playing with the Union and jamming out with Omnigun and jamming out with just other bands outside of LA, everything that I saw felt alien to me, even though I felt normal to you guys.
Mm.
And in contrast, like when I talked to Brent about the bands from LA, I feel like he gets it, but he doesn't really get it.
So when you do eventually read In Defense of Ska, you will learn that I went to Ska Wars in 2015.
We did talk about that. I remember you told me that.
Okay. I don't know if you can remember specific years, but were you at Ska Wars in 2015?
Yeah, Plaza de la Raza.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. I remember that one. It wasn't with Leftover Crack, right? It was with
No.
Inspector and
I know Nana Pancho is there.
Oh, okay. It was on a punch and Out of Control Army.
Yes, correct.
Okay, I'm not looking at a flyer. I promise you. This one just came out straight at the top of my head.
No cheat sheet.
No cheat sheet at all. Everything. I wish you guys could see what I'm. I'm not looking at it at all. I promise. Yeah, it was that because then I remember it was Deals from Out of Control Army's first show here, and I remember talking to the bassist on La Pancha. Yeah, I remember that one for sure. And damn, I missed that venue. Fucking Plaza de la Raza.
Yeah. So to be clear for people, Plaza de la Raza is it's just part of a park.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a little area. So there's a larger park, and people are out there, picnicking with their families or whatever. And then there's like a segment of the park that is this outdoor stage area, and that's where the show was. But it's kind of separated, so you had to actually get a ticket to get in and that stuff. My moment of being kind of blown away by that experience was that it was 2015 and that there was like tons of like young people. Like it wasn't just people who were in their 30s and 40s who had just grown up with ska and just continued to like it. It's like new people joining the scene. And most of the bands were local. A couple bands were from Mexico. And they were down with it. They knew the lyrics. They were singing along. They were pumped. I hadn't really seen a local scene, like never mind ska. I hadn't really seen a local scene with that much energy. So, I can't even remember the last time I've seen a local scene with that kind of energy.
So then next, here's where the part where I get all preachy and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's hear your sermon.
That scene has existed for years. I grew up with that scene. I've been in the LA scene since 2006, 2005, and we started off from a pocket of misfits to what it was, and that was always something present. It was at some point normal to us, and I'd always kept telling people this thing exists. That ska's this big is it's real, and then when people get so blown away by it, they're like, "Oh, I can't believe there's this many young kids in ska." I was like, "There's been this many young kids in ska. We're everywhere in LA. I could walk to downtown LA and I'll run into a couple fans and we'll talk for a little while and we'll be like, "Oh, I see you on the show on Saturday," or stuff like that. Or my mom, she worked in downtown LA at a warehouse and at a what do you call them? Like a gourmet Italian spot. And my mom would even text me every once in a while, "Hey, you got some fans coming in here. They say hi to you." Okay, yeah, tell them I say hi back. My mom gets fucking. She's a fucking rock star because she gets double because my brother plays in this really popular soul band called the Sinceres, and I'm here playing in these fucking ska bands. So it's always like my mom's always getting "Hey, what's up?" You're the Flores brothers' mom, and she's getting all the fucking love all the time, and good on her.
Yeah, good on her.
Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of my preaching part where it's like it's something that has existed and I feel has the potential of doing something well, but it just needs to focus because a lot of the bands never really have the opportunity to travel. Some of these bands are undocumented, or some of them are young, or some of them are poor, and then some of them just prioritize other things and just traveling, and they'll just stay in this like the circuit of LA backyards or clubs or festivals, and they never really tend to leave. There's very few bands that I know that have left LA to attempt to do a thing.
Well, name some bands from that scene that you think are deserving of more attention.
Oh my fucking god! There is La Balas Calavera. There is La Resistencia, Rascahuele, Red Store Bums deserves it. Los Ocho Calacas, La Pobresca, Café con Tequila, Salsecho Skankers, Delirians. People know the Delirians, the Steady 45s. People know who the Steady 45s are.
I'm upset that the Delirians don't have a record out on vinyl. I went to go buy one the other day and you couldn't.
There is one record that I know of in it, and it was on Mundus Records, and it's a single, a 7-inch. That's all that I know that they have. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw the 7-inch, but I don't want to have to keep flipping it over. I want a long play.
Yeah, I don't know. Angel, if you're hearing this, try get the LP going. That's my boy right there.
Okay, so we established your favorite show in general, but what's your favorite local show that you've ever been to in LA? Could be one of the festivals. Could just be just a normal, couple band bill.
I don't want to get high off my own my own farts. But when I was a promoter, throwing shows, there's this lineup that I think about really often, and there's a video of it on YouTube, and I think about it. It ended up being one of my favorite shows for the fact that you could never get a lineup of local bands like this for that cheap of a price, and it was like it was at a skate shop that I threw this show on, and it was like at a 150 person capacity skate shop, and I ended up getting 400 people in there, and people were like on top of the ramps. The layout was flawed because the light switch was in the middle of the pit, so the light kept flickering in and out. And then it was like Delirians, Mente Corrupta, Café con Tequila, Blanco y Negro, this band called LA Crooks, this other band called Decolecua. And it was $6 all night. And nowadays that lineup will go up for higher. But I think about that. I think because I never seen such a, you know, chaotic show happening that it just stays in my head. And sometimes I'm just like, yeah, that's like my adolescence. I can't believe I did that at 19. I had such a fun time doing that.
So, can you remember the first time you went to one of these shows? So, you were you were a gamer kid. You were on your path to be a scientist or something, and then somebody dragged you to one of these shows, and your life is forever changed. Is that the story?
Yeah, I basically remember. I remember my first show. I remember the person. Like, I remember the person who got me into my first show. We had a ska band for a couple of years. Um, yeah. Ironically, it was in my science class that I met my friend Danny, and it was just by chance because his last name was Flores and my last name was Flores, so we were seated together. And he was the dude that told me like about ska. He was like, "Hey, you like this?" And he like introduced me to Sublime, and I knew what Sublime was, so that's what I got in. That was an easy path. And then he got me into like Sectorcore, and Sectorcore was something that I was like, "Whoa, this is really tight. This is really cool." And then he told me like, "Hey, there's a venue down the street from our high school. They're throwing like an afternoon of ska show, like an afternoon a tardera, which is an afternoon of ska or an afternoon program. Do you want to go?" And I'm just like, "Oh, I got to tell my mom. I never really gone. I've only gone to one show before, and that was like a punk show. And yeah, I'll go. I'll give it a shot. My mom gives me permission. But I asked my mom, and she gives me some money. It's me and my brother, and this show, it is. I just remember Rascawele being the headliners, and I remember like a couple of local bands, like Awesome Possum and um, this band called Yerba Mala and Ecolekua. I remember those bands, but I remember like going to that show, and then there's like they started doing the small pit, and my friend told me, "Do you know how to skank or do you know how to like pit?" I said no, and then somebody told me, it's like tripping forward. They kind of told me it's like tripping forward, and I'm like, I don't know how to trip forward. Am I gonna fall? And they kind of showed me slow motion how to do it, and then I gave it a shot, and I kept going, and ever since then, I was like, man, I have to do more of these shows, and that was kind of like that first show really got me into like talking to my friend Danny, saying, "Yo, if there's more of these, you got to let me know because I'll go, I'll show up." And for a long time, I went to that same venue to go to these shows. And then when that venue closed down, we started kind of looking for like backyards, and the backyard scene was like still growing. And we would go to these shady backyard shows, and see all these cool bands. And I just had tons of fun. I spent like the first like 2 3 years just going to shows, and I wasn't playing in a band yet. And it was cool. And I was completely sober at that time too. So like it's funny because like there's a stigma with like with kids who go to these shows. They're like, "Oh, how can you go to a show sober like that?" I mean, it's a bad image, obviously, but at the time I was like, man, I can't believe I just went just to go dance and hang out and not just do anything else that's shady and inconspicuous. It's kind of crazy.
Can you remember a backyard show you've been to that had the most people? Because some of those backyard shows have a good amount of people, right? Pretty
No,
packed.
oh yeah, yeah, really really fucking packed. I'm just trying to think because there was a bunch of them. There used to be this lot. There used to be this lot in not a lot. It was a backyard of one of my old friend's house on like 92nd and Compton, which is like in Watts, right off the 105. And he threw this show for an anniversary for his old band Descarados, and it was like the 3rd year anniversary or 5th year or whatever, something like that. And first of all, like that house, like the person that runs it is like my friend's family member, and I'll say that for the sake of safety because I don't want to burn nobody out. But the family member happens to be connected with a drug ring, so the cops wouldn't pass by. So they're like, "Yeah, it's safe. This is an area that it's protected, and there's a gang there protecting the place. You'll be safe. It won't get raided. We'll go on all night. Cool, whatever. As long as they don't harm anybody, you're good." And so we Matamoska was playing the show. We were kind of like the co-headliners, invited guests, and we go and we're playing this, and it was just this huge backyard that looked like it was like somebody was repairing cars in it, but all the cars got moved to the side, and it was incredibly packed. I remember looking up, going to the roof, and then looking down, and it was like a sea of people. You could jump from the roof, and you'll land on somebody. You're not gonna hit the floor. You're gonna land on somebody. It was just incredibly packed, and at that point too, I was like very conscious of the idea too, where I'm just like, man, I can't believe like the scene has gone this far, and I reflect on that a long time ago, for a while, because like we came from, like, when I just started the scene, a packed show would be like 200 kids, and now it's like 200 kids at a backyard is like a poor turnout. So now it's like normal to have a lot more kids than it is back then.
When did you get started booking? So you booked under the name Top Shot Productions?
Man, I was thinking too. I was like, man, this guy's gonna bust some Nardwar shit on me for sure. I was trying to see. Yeah. I started booking gigs. It was after high school. I wasn't documented, and to make some money for college, is I would throw shows. I used to work at job agencies, and I would do this thing where I would work for one semester and then study for another semester. But I was determined. I was like, I'm not gonna let go of college. I'm gonna try and graduate. And so while I was doing college, I was throwing shows or planning shows. And I was like, okay, I could make some extra money on the side for books or for tuition or for food or whatever. So I started throwing shows when I was like 17. And um, my first show, it was me and my friend Juan. And I knew Juan for a while. I forgot how I met him. We first definitely met at a show. And at first I thought he was a bit of an asshole, but then he was like, he was determined to make something. He laid out this plan of like, if we do this plan like this, like we could make money doing shows. And I was like, okay, I'm in, because I gotta pay for college, and I feel like this is an easier way, so I could focus during the week on school, and then the weekends I'll be doing ska. We started scouting and looking for places, and the first show, ironically, was that skate shop. And I went to the skate shop, and the guy was very nice to let us throw a show in the skate shop with the condition that we don't overpack it. But then he started saying money into it, and he was just like, cram that show. Like, if you're making money, then I'm making money. That I thought it was gonna be like a small thing, but it seems like it's successful. And this after that, I kind of just decided, I was like, you know what, I think throwing shows is fun. I mean, it's stressful at the moment, but I think it's super fun to do, and I kind of want to do more. So then, me and my friends were kind of just throwing names around, like, what should we call ourselves? It should be something like where it sounds big and it sounds cool, and we're like, oh, let's just be, Top Shot. We're Top Shots here. We're like the big brothers of the ska scene, just trying to like bring affordable shows to the crowds. And at the same time, we want to pay bands right, because also a very big thing that happens in LA is that bands get underpaid or they get screwed over by promoters. It's a very common thing that happens. So we were trying to like find this medium where we could make affordable shows and serve bands. So that's kind of where we started, but with the incentive of like, if I could make a little money off college, then I will,
Did you book any out of town bands? Any bigger bands?
I tried. I remember I tried, and a lot of the bigger bands couldn't do it. That initially, that's how I met John from Root King, which is Mr. Kingpin. I know we were talking for a while about him wanting to bring Root King to LA, and I tried making it work, but I think something fell through. I tried bringing this other band called Malafacha from Chicago, and that fell through. I think at some point, my main point was like something started manifesting out of these shows, where I was just, you know what, these shows are so tight. I want to bring that experience of LA shows. I want to bring it elsewhere. So that's why I started bringing bands from LA to start playing. Like we did a show in Texas thanks to the help of my sister Tiana, and then we did a show at the Gilman, and that was pretty cool. Like we started doing stuff like that, and started trying to like bring the word of LA ska outside of LA, and try to make something out of it. And I feel that that's where I got a lot of respect from a lot of the bands that I started working with, because they saw that I was constantly trying to hustle and trying to elevate the scene as a whole, not just make money off something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And so the local Fox News 11 decided that they needed to do a segment on you and the backyard scene that you fostered.
And here we go. Here's where we hit full circle. Here's where the main thing happened. Yeah, dude. Oh my! And then to this day, I'm gonna say it. That was the weirdest fucking thing in my life, and I've gotten a lot of weird hit ups that ended up being pretty cool. But to this day, that was the weirdest thing. Like I don't know how they got my. I don't know how they got my number. I don't know how they got my number.
So they called you. They said, "Hey, we want to do a segment."
Yeah, they called. It was a straight up call. It was like, and it was. Mind you, it was like 2011, 2012, um, and I got this call from this number, and it was this guy who I don't know, dude. It was this guy, and he just kind of kept talking a mile a minute, and he was like, "Yo, I got your number from the source," and he said the source really fast. I just never got it, so I was like, "Okay, whatever. Yeah, how can I help you?" And he goes, "Well, I'm a producer and a film man for Fox 11. I'm interested in doing a piece on your on your on your shows on you." And I'm just like, at first I was thinking it was a prank because I a lot of people would also make fun of me for throwing shows because like it was still when ska was not really popular, so I was like, oh, Esteban the ska kid, ha ha ha, really funny. So I was just like, oh, you're fucking with me, right? Like this is Fox 11 wants to hit me up to throw a show when there's better promoters out there throwing bigger shows. And he just like, no, I see what you're doing, and I really enjoy what you're doing, and it's cool. And then I go, okay, you know what? And I kind of had to test it. I'm like, give me a call tomorrow. I'm doing homework right now because it was in the nighttime. If you're serious about this, you give me a call around set time, and let's talk about this because I kind of still think this is a prank. But if you're serious about it, hit me up. So then he hit me up the next day, and he explained what he needed, and I just have to give him a show. And I go, you know what? I'm actually planning a show in March. I got this tattoo place, which is like kind of by Sunset, where Chavez and Sunset kind of merge, and it becomes Echo Park. It was a cool tattoo place that I was looking at for a while, and the person was nice enough to let me use his lot. And so he goes, cool. And then he started kind of talking the guidelines to me, and he goes, listen, man, I don't want to fuck up your image. I don't want to ruin your image, but we're gonna go there. And if there's somebody drunk, underage, on drugs, on pot, or something, and if the camera catches it, it's gonna be on the news. Just letting you know, because and then next thing you know, that I go, okay, that's fine, that's okay. I think that's a bet I'm willing to take if it's gonna be a good publicity move. And then next thing you know, I started announcing it. Hey, I'm doing this show. It's gonna be this banger lineup. It's gonna be on Fox. And that's when like hell broke loose. People started like attending. Like it used to be back when Facebook was really active, and I made the event, and I said this is gonna be on Fox. This is gonna be big. I'm not fucking with you guys. This is a big thing. Bands instantly started wanting to hit me up and play, and I stood my ground on the bands I wanted to get. It was a bunch of my homie bands. And then I get this call from Clemente, and then Clemente calls me, and to the listener, listen, a couple episodes back, you know who Clemente is. Clemente calls me with concern, and it comes nowadays thinking as an adult and as someone who loves the scene, it comes with reason that I could have potentially made the scene in LA look bad, and Clemente worked on the scene. I have a lot of respect on him that he like grew the scene from his infancy, and I could have potentially damaged the image of how the ska scene is seen as. So he gave me a grievance, and I understood the grievance, but I think I was more like confident on the fact that you know, drugs were not gonna get shown. We're gonna do our very best to omit that, like to the camera. And so that's a whole other story in itself. Anyways, we go to the day of the show, although at least the night of the show, and the guy calls me. We're gonna be there at this time. This is gonna happen. This is what you're gonna do. And then when I get there, go, come out to the front, speak your story, and then we're gonna go inside. And then whatever we catch is whatever we catch. Cool, whatever. And so next thing you know, the day of the show comes, starts setting everything up. First band comes, starts playing. The van pulls up, and that's when the kids are just like cheering and flipping off, the fucking van and whatever. And then that's when I'm like, here we fucking go. Here's where the whole thing just is everything's gonna go to shit, whatever. The van comes, and I'm doing my part, my interview, and then then the guy looks at me. He goes, "Are you ready?" And I go, "I'm ready. Let's do this." and the camera goes in and it's just capturing these wild pictures of the kids in the pit. And the entire time I would catch something with beer or something, I would divert the camera. Like I would move it and be like, no, let's go this way instead. Let's go this way instead. No, let's go this way instead. We start diverting it, and it was just comical. It was funny because it was me and my friend Angel. We're just diverting this camera. I'm making sure they capture some cool angles, making sure some cool shit's happening. And we just straight up divert the entire thing. The guy comes out. He said it was a success. He was gonna give me a call for my information. And the show was wild. I mean, like, I paid off all the bands, and I still made like $2,000 to myself. And I think with that, I bought a guitar. I remember buying a guitar clearly with that money.
You bought a guitar? That was your big investment?
At the time, are you giving me grievance now? I remember.
I'm not giving you grievance. The grievance I'm going to give you is I haven't seen you play a guitar.
Well, I'm over that phase.
I've not seen one clip of Catbite, and you walk on stage with a guitar.
I pick up the keyboard now. I think that's way cooler. So that happens, and then the guy hits me up and he sends me this email form about like putting my information and putting something I want to put, like a shout out or some kind of information so people can know where to find me. And around that time, Matamoska was recording their album, and the whole time, like, I'm pretty sure Clemente was tense with the idea that I did this, and even though he told me not to do it, but the day I was gonna release, was the day I was recording keyboards at Clemente's studio, and it was just this energy he was just quiet with me the whole time, and I'm recording keyboards. And I'm just like, I'm terribly uncomfortable because I know by the time I get home, shit's gonna happen, And I didn't have a phone back in the day. This was before I had a phone, and whatever was gonna happen was whatever's gonna happen. I'm gonna get home. By the time I get home, the program's over. So whatever showed was whatever showed, and then if it's bad, then I'm just gonna hide my face for a while. and if it's good, then that's good. And I'm just happy it ended up being good because I ended up getting so many nice messages from people, and I had so many people adding me on Facebook. Like, I think there's still people that I'm friends with because of that to this day, and it was cool because then I started, like, I went to college the next day, and everyone told me, I heard you on K-Rock, or because they'll do like the programs like the Tonight on Fox 11, and they start talking about the story is going to happen on the radio. And people will be like, I heard you on K-Rock, or I heard you on K-Love, or on K-Earth. And I was like, oh, that's cool, And people just started, like, talking to me, recognizing the fact that I started doing something legitimate. And that was a cool moment. Like, I still think about it as a cool highlight, because I was like, not every 19-year-old or every 18-year-old gets to have that kind of experience of getting that kind of attention for doing something cool for the scene. Because towards the end, like at the very end of it, like, it's something that I tried wholeheartedly showing my love to the scene because I feel like it deserves to be shown.
Yeah. So you started playing music around 13 or 14, right?
Yeah.
You'd had a few bands in the beginning. At one point, you played drums in an indie rock band.
Yeah, I did. It was me, one of my best friends, Juan, and then two friends of mine, Ish and Adam, and I think I was 20. I think I was 20.
Okay, this is a later band. What's the band called?
That band was called I Philosophize. It was just like an indie rock band. It was kind of like the guy trying to sound like Morrissey, but with like Joy Division beats. And that was kind of when I started learning how to play like drums, but it'd be a lot of dancey drums. And it was cool because that kind of started me as like knowing how to play drums. And I mean, nowadays, like, I could play ska drums pretty fucking good. Not like Brant, but I'm just throwing that out there because I know he's gonna listen to this. I don't play good like Brant, But I could hold it down because I have played drums for Matamoska a couple times when our drummer couldn't make it, and I was just like, throw me some sticks, throw me some cymbals, let's fucking get through the set, So that's fun.
But the keyboard's your instrument. Your first inspiration was Ray Manzarek from The Doors, right?
Yep, I'm a huge Doors fan. I have a Doors tattoo on my arm.
Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah. That's my number one. My mom, when she told me when we were babies, she would put us on to classic rock music, and the Doors was like a big thing. And that's something I kind of just synonymous to my entire life, where like I've always had the Doors kind of like a theme song to my life, kind of going on with everything that I'm doing up to this day. Like I mean, the nowadays I don't listen to the Doors as much. I don't obsess over it as much as other people would, but like I I don't know, when I feel like listening to the Doors, I don't listen to just one song. I'll listen to like a whole album. Like okay, I feel like listening to the Soft Parade today, or I feel like listening to Self Titled, and then I start picking at it, and I'm like, man, these guys were punk rock for their time. I think there's like a quote to that Iggy Pop said that the Doors were punk rock of back in the day. But just because of an attitude and the way they played. But this, I like to credit a lot of my rebelliousness and like the punk attitude to like the Doors because they broke boundaries musically, and I feel like I tried to like imitate that with my playing and my lifestyle of just trying to like always try to think outside the box when it comes to like writing something or when it comes to just like adapting towards the situation in life.
When I was in high school Spanish, I had a teacher named Mr. Corzo.
I had that same teacher.
Yeah, okay. Obsessed with the Doors. I believe he mentioned them like at least 3 times a week.
He also did a lip sync as Jim Morrison for like a teacher talent show thing.
I had an English teacher who he saw me wear a Doors shirt once, and then he got really weird with me once because he looked at my shirt and he goes, "That's a nice shirt you have," and I go, "Hey, thanks, man." And this guy looks he looks kind of like a nice eye, like Al Bundy but with nice eyes. So he had this very stoic look. I don't know, a very weird look. And he goes, "It's a nice shirt you got." And I go, "Thanks, man." And he goes, "I want to go see the Doors once." And I go, "Well, I mean, you couldn't see the Doors because Jim died, but I understand you want to see, Ray and Robbie and John." He goes, "Yeah." And then he goes, "Ray hit on my wife, but my wife was more interested in me, so fuck Robbie. So fuck Ray Manzarek." And I'm just like, all right, dude, whatever. You look scary right now. You're giving me this crazy look in your face, and I don't feel comfortable around you. Yeah, I think that's like the only thing. That's the only thing I have. And then the other thing I guess that I remember about teachers is that one of my algebra teachers, Mr. Vogel, he's like really good friends with somebody from the Aquabats or something like that. I don't know. That's one of the things too. I don't know. Teachers are weird. The older I got, the more I realized that teachers are just normal adults that like shitty things like we do.
Okay, so there's not a lot of keyboardists in the ska scene or competent keyboardists. Hence the fact that you play in like 30 to 80 bands.
I think I think I could confidently say like 30 to 80, maybe even 50 to 80. I think I could confidently say if you want to like, I always say it if it's like played and joined bands, I would say 20. But if like jumped in and covered bands, it'd be like 50. Or if it's just jammed out in one song and said, "Hey, what's up?" and leave, then probably like 80 bands.
Can you do? I've seen some videos where you do this. I don't know if you can do this in a concise way, but can you explain keyboard technique for ska, reggae, rocksteady?
Yeah. I mean, the basic way you break it down is like, it's very it's a percussive playing. It's basically all percussion. In the sense where one hand's playing the offbeat and then one hand's playing the onbeat. The onbeat being the one, and then the offbeat being the and one and two and three and four and so your and is basically the your skank, as people call it. And then your bottom hand, you could either just play the downbeat, and that kind of helps you balance your skank, or some people just play the skank in general, and that took me a while to get because you kind of have to fall into pocket. Because a lot of the pianists they wouldn't even play the on-beat, they just play the skank. But then you start going into like things like two-tone and organ playing, and people start applying the second hand, and that second hand will play the other beat, kind of just to contradict the offbeat. The way I tried explaining organ is basically just like playing drums. Because if you shift your hand, like if you shift your so pretend I'm playing the skank, and I'm playing it with my right hand, and my right hand's going eh, and my other hand is doing is doing that, and you apply drums to it, I'm basically just doing the hi-hat and the click of the snare click. So it's very like I'm mimicking the drums, and your organ or your piano is just supposed to be clicking with the hi-hat. The hi-hat in ska music is very important because it's what glues the guitar and the piano and the organ all together. So I always tell people, if you want to play authentic Jamaican ska, always focus on your drummer. The better the drummer, the better your pocket's gonna be, and the better your playing's gonna sound. If your drummer is still getting new, just try and tighten up as a rhythm. If you're playing faster stuff, obviously you're playing things with a little bit more drive, and after that you would just have to focus on your guitarist. Your guitarist is what's gonna draw out what the speed and the feel you're gonna have to play, and that's what I would do with bands like Catbite and Matamoska, in contrast to like bands like Steady 45s and the Deliriums, where I would have to focus a little more on the drummer, and the other bands have to focus more on the guitarist.
Having an organ in a ska, I think, is a big asset.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's I don't know. There's a I think it's subjective depending on who you talk to, but I feel like organ is probably the most important thing to have, because it's just such a what do you call it, like a multifaceted like tool to have, and it evolves with the style, and not a lot of bands have horns, or maybe back in the day couldn't afford horns, so they have a keyboardist. The keyboardist would fill in all that empty space. So it's what do you call it, this it's a word for it, amicable. There you go, it's really amicable. It's like it's used on almost everything when it comes to Jamaican music.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just kind of the thing where, like, I remember when I was younger, I was very much about like, yeah, I'm just trying to get through the gig, just trying to get through the gig. And then nowadays, I'm very much like studious, where I'm like, that's how it clicks, and that's what I'm doing, that's how it works, and I apply a lot of it into, like Omnigon songs, and I apply a lot of it into Jer songs. There was a whole mess of applications into the Jer songs and to the Catbite songs, where I wasn't just playing traditional ska organ bubbles and ska organ skanks. I was moving around, because like I went at it with an approach of like, cool, it sounds modern, but I also want to bring a twist of like old, because people who are the old heads will understand and be like, oh, this the guy who they got understands what he's doing and understands the style to complement, Beady Beady Bam Bam, or to complement Bad Influence, or to complement the cover that Jared does on their album. So it's just stuff like this, just to show the crowd, like, okay, this is a well-rounded group, instead of just like, oh, all they know how to play is ska punk.
Can you explain real briefly what the bubble is for people who don't know, what that word means?
So the bubble is basically like, if you hear it in a song, it's basically like the bukaku, bukaku. It's basically the off. It's basically your. So you switch your offbeat. So when I said doing your offbeat on the right hand, and then the onbeat on your left hand, you switch it. So now your offbeat is on your left hand and your onbeat's on the right hand, and that's mostly known in reggae music. But also, you could also use it in ska, because if you take off your right hand, you're basically just doing the skank with your left hand. So it kind of complements, where you could do reggae influences on ska music, and then vice versa. So I call it a bubble.
Yes. Okay, so you're playing in Bandaloos currently?
Yeah, that's currently since I moved up here to Portland, it just became a lot easier to work with that band. I had a working relationship with Jeremy and the guys for a long time, and I've been really good friends with Curtis and Morgan for longer than that. So it just kind of naturally kind of came together, and when I moved up here, I was like, yo, Mandela's could be my home base, and I could have something to play around with. Meanwhile, at that time, meanwhile the world's exploding because of COVID, and I could figure life out, a day at a time. And it's cool because they work at a pace that, at least at home, I could balance work life and family life, and I could balance the Bandulus. In contrast to like Matamoska, like with Matamoska, like I control the whim, and I control the workload, and I pretty much manage the group, and the group decides if they want to go at the speed that I'm going, or they say, hey, can't do this and they can't do that, and we go to a compromise. And then yeah.
So they're Anthony Cotham
Yo, yeah, that's my boy. That's your boy too, apparently.
is our, yeah. Well, he wanted to say that you butcher his solo on Mr. Bad Luck. Any thoughts on that?
Um, I was drunk, dude. I mean, what do you expect? I know exactly what he's talking about. He's talking about the show like a month ago where I just got wasted. Like he's the one that contributed to that. He's all, "Do you want anything?" And I'm just like, "I'll take a shot and a beer." And he comes and he brings me a shot and a beer. So hey, he's just as responsible as I was. I'm a victim of circumstance here.
Yeah. He also says that you need to come over to his house and pick up the combo organ that he said you can have.
Yeah, the Yamaha organ. So lately I've been doing a lot. So lately I've been doing a lot of cumbia, and we were talking about organs that are appropriate for cumbia. And he shot me some good recommendations, and I looked into them, but they're a little bit out of my finances right now. So he's all like, "Oh, I got this organ," and I checked the organ out on YouTube, and I was like, "Yo, that's pretty close to the sound that I want." So I got to pick it up. The one thing I didn't realize is that the organ is pretty big, so I got to figure out a size thing. I want it, but I got to figure out where I can fit it in my 2-bedroom apartment.
Okay. Have you always gone hard live? Because you seem like you go pretty hard live.
Um, hmm. You know what? It depends on the band that I play with, and it depends how comfortable I am with the band. Because there's some bands that I don't feel comfortable going hard with because either I'm doing a lot or I just don't feel it too much. It's just like a either the music is kind of okay or the environment doesn't really call for me to go too hard. Um, but like Catbite shows, like dude, I'll think outside of the box, and I get a little scared of the fact of like um messing up or something where I'm just like like I hope what I think about doing in my head works and doesn't blow up in my face. Like picking up the keyboard, I get scared about unplugging the keyboard and I'm fucked. And I'm just like fuck this. This is what I get for trying to show off. With Matamoska, I think I was just unfamiliar with the band in the beginning because I played in the band since I was 17, and as a 17-year-old, I just kind of focused on wanting to play good. But then I think it started when I started playing bigger shows and I started dancing, and I was like, you know what, this could be my thing because I don't see many dancing keyboardists aside the fact that I see Tokyo Ska dance and play, and that kind of drew the inspiration. I was like, you know what, I'll be the dancing keyboardist in the U.S. I'll be the guy, and so I kind of just started like taking on the role of like if I dance, people have to dance with me because I don't want to feel uncomfortable. Um, and then it kept with Mata just became the thing where we just started like kind of going wild. Bandulas is like reggae music, and there's days when I'm moving and grooving, but for the most part, like reggae music kind of needs more of my attention with my hands than it does with my feet. And so yeah. I mean, there's definitely been bands that I've danced with, and there's definitely been bands that I haven't danced with just for A, B, or C reasons.
Mm-hmm. And you've like busted keyboards at concerts before?
You know what? I've busted keyboards at rehearsals.
At rehearsals. So you're going hard at rehearsal too.
No. Oh my god. Okay, so remember that guitar I bought? I bought that guitar, and I'm excited to fucking take it to practice. I had Sausage Skinker practice that night, and I'm taking it out, and I'm like, yeah, hell yeah! And I put on the strap, and I didn't know about strap locks, and the fucking keyboard falls out of my strap, and it hits the floor hard, and it left this black chip on the corner, and I'm like, fuck! I barely had it for 12 hours, and I fucked up this fucking keyboard already. And my whole band just started laughing, and I'm just like, yeah, this is what I get for fucking being a show off, whatever. But this keyboard wise, I've definitely I just got my Nord. I just got my Nord back. I have my Nord behind me, and that the damage was caused by a show. I was playing a show in Denver, and my singer didn't make it because his flight delay. So I had to sing. I had to bust this Vic Ruggiero Fat Mike esque thing where I'm singing and I'm not singing good. Vic sings great. Fat Mike doesn't sing good. So the Vic Ruggiero aspect comes in the fact that I'm singing and playing keys.
Sure.
And so this some guy drops Jack and Coke all over my keyboard, and I'm here thinking that my shit's ruined, and I'm like, fuck, what the fuck did I do? And my keyboard still worked, and it wasn't until just earlier last year my keyboard didn't work, and the guy that opened up my keyboard, he called me. He's just like, hey, this is really concerning. There's like black liquid all over your motherboard, and I'm just thinking, what could it be? And I'm like, the Jack and Coke from Denver.
Damn.
Damn. Yeah, and it was just lame because it was just like it wasn't my fault, Somebody just happened to spill Jack and Coke on me, um, all over me, my keyboard and me, and I just had to, I was dealt the hand that was given.
Okay, so 2018 Supernova. You played in 8 bands at that festival.
No. 2018 Supernova, 8 bands. Did I play in 8 bands? It was Western Standard Time. It was Sammy K. It was Matamoska. It was Stereo 45s. I did a set with Adam Birch.
Mm-hmm.
Who else did I do that with? I was doing with Pie Tasters. I jumped in for like a track with Pie Tasters. It was like 6 bands, 6 bands, one or the other, like something like that. I don't know about 8 bands. Like I gotta remember. Some of them probably just slipped my mind.
And this was the first time at that festival. Was the first time you played with Ben and Chris?
Yeah, that was the first time I played with Ben and Chris, and also I graduated college. The Thursday before that, so I graduated college. Friday, I jumped to play punk rock bowling with the 45s. Took a red eye, barely made it to the 45 set, and then played the 45 set, and then chilled out the next day. And then the next day after, played with Matamoska.
Just a side tangent. Supernova 2021. Yeah, your brother earned the name Hooch. How was he? How did he earn the name Hooch?
It was he was given the name Hooch out of keeping his name anonymous because the guy who wrote this story about Hooch didn't want to put him on blast, but we ended up partying with our friends, and my brother got tired and sleepy, and I was incredibly drunk, and one of my friends ended up walking me to my hotel room, and because I said, hey, I'm leaving, I can't find my brother, and my friends all, your brother's gone, just go, I'll take you. All right, cool, whatever. So he takes me, and then I go to sleep, and next thing you know, I get a call like at 4 in the morning or something like that, and I hear a door open, and my brother comes in, and he just starts swinging at me in the middle of the night, and I'm like, hey, what the fuck's going on? What's going on, dude? Where were you at? And he's all, I was sleeping in the van the whole time, the van that we came in, and you left me there. And I was like, I didn't leave you there. I thought you were here. And the next thing you know, you're not here. So I thought you were somewhere else. And he's just calling me an asshole. It's calling me a bunch of names. Um, and we were fighting, and we stayed with John from Kingpin. We stayed with him. So he woke up, and he had to be like an angry dad, like, hey, you two have to stop. And I'm just like, dude, I don't know what the fuck's going on. We'll talk about this in the morning. I'm sleepy. You're sleepy. Let's just go to sleep about it and let's wake up in the morning. And then in the morning, we woke up and we just hugged it out. We're like, yeah, you're tripping, dude. I was drunk and you were drunk. Let's just keep it as that.
um, the Matamoska covered MIA on the Rancid comp. Were you?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of our patrons, Peter Hansen, he wanted us to ask about that because it's his favorite song on the comp. He liked how you retained the melancholy aspect of the song, but also gave it a party vibe. So just curious about any aspect about recording that song and transposing that song to ska.
Oh yeah, dude, it was totally fun. And I think I posted about it on Twitter because I found the demo of it. And it was the first demo we did. But Adam hit me up and he's like, "Hey, do you guys want to do a cover of Rancid?" And I was like, "Oh, well, we haven't recorded anything in a while. We're shaky. It's like mid pandemic or something, and we're trying to figure this shit out." And he goes, "Just do listen, like I go, what song? Let's listen to my A." And I go, "Cool, I'll have it to you in like a week or something, or a day or some shit like that." And I took it as a challenge to myself. I know Adam was gonna knows that we are gonna finish it, but I was like, bet one day we're gonna get this done in a whole weekend or get everything started in a day. I told the rest of the guys that were in. We broke the song down, and at that time I just left playing with the Interrupters. But I remember when I was with them, they would always play um the Jimmy Cliff album as their vocal rehearsal. And I just heard it enough for me to understand like the skinhead reggae and the little isms they're doing. I started hearing a lot of details, so that stuck in my head. So when we were doing like listed MIA, I was like, oh, let's do like a traditional style, like a skinhead reggae, like a skinhead reggae feel. And it was kind of like a love letter to the Jimmy Cliff album because Tim produced it, and it was also a love letter to the uh, Tim Armstrong solo album because I do a lot of the shout outs in the back with the delays, because that was like a big thing in all the Poets Live album. There's like, you hear a bunch of delays, you hear a bunch of shout outs that Tim does to the Agrolites. So I started doing a bunch of that, and then we switched up the dialogue because Lawrence talks about being from Oakland, and we talk about being from East LA. So it was pretty cool. The one thing we had was switching up that one word there that is not an appropriate word to say anymore. And
Yup.
we were like, how do we do this? How do we do this? We're like, it wasn't even like a problematic thing. We were just like, oh, let's just say addict. It has the same motif.
Didn't you guys use maggot?
No, addict.
Oh, addict?
Treat him like an addict.
Okay.
Yeah, treat him like an addict. Because I think Padilla was talking about it in the sense of like being treated like a crust punk or like a scurvy addict or something like that. And I think it made sense contextually, just being from East LA. Like it's not a clean place to be at. I feel like it's almost like Oakland of SoCal, because it's just very,
Sure.
yeah, it's culturally different. It has a bunch of culture to it. And from what I remember, Oakland had a lot of culture to it, but I heard otherwise from another friend of mine that it's starting to get gentrified or whatever.
That's everywhere in the Bay.
Oh, so fucked up. But yeah, that's kind of the story we listed in my app. But I remember like on the demo, I was playing drums and I was thinking like it should have this very like reggae feel. We shouldn't really go too ska about it. Maybe the only ska part that we did was the chorus, but everything else is kind of like Jimmy Cliffish, and then we'll add the element of like a poet's life. So it's kind of like a big love letter to like the productions of Tim Armstrong instead of Tim Armstrong himself. Or like he's a producer. I gotta make it sound like it like he produced it, but we did it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's a good approach.
So, okay, right before lockdown in early 2020 is when you recorded Mr. Kingpin album.
Yeah.
Did you fly over to Texas to do that?
No, he flew over to LA with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. It he. I mean, there's a story behind that because before we recorded two songs, and we were just sharing demos, and he told me pick any songs that you like and that you feel are easy for you to work with. And it was the first time somebody kind of trusted me with their production ideas. And I mean, nowadays I'm more comfortable of being a producer when it comes to that style of music, or starting to be more comfortable because there's way better people out there than me. Um, but I started being a little more comfortable with the fact that I could make songs. But back then I used to be like, oh, I don't know, like I'll give it a shot, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And so I got my friend Chris Bourbon, and I think he's like one of the best ska and reggae drummers like of the modern time at the moment. So I hit him up and I asked him to record drums off these two demos, but he couldn't hear the demo, so I memorized the count, and I was telling him, chorus, verse. I was just kind of like mouthing him off as he was playing. I sent everything to John, and then John would record guitar and bass, and then I record keys over it. And then when we had the whole thing completed, John really enjoyed it. So then after that, he was like, "Hey, I really want to make an album with you." So he came for a weekend, and we were shedding out the songs. And then the next day, we recorded them on drums, off with no sense of direction whatsoever. It was just kind of me and him, me and John, kind of saying, "Here's where you're gonna do a verse, a chorus, a bridge. Do a roll like this, give me a rhythm like that, do something like this, make it sound like Toots and the Maytals." We were giving just very vague direction, and Chris caught on like very fast. Um, and then my friend Ray did bass on it, and Ray plays lead guitar on Matamoska, but Ray has another band called Rhythm Ambassadors, and he also does like Nintendo covers in traditional ska, like traditional like Scatlight ska. And I really like his bass playing, and I know that Ray and Chris, they're like really close friends, so they have that chemistry, and it clicked up. And then I got my brother to be on it to do rhythm, because me and my brother always wanted to be in a band together, and my brother's rhythm is really tight, and so he got to do rhythm, and then he did leads, and then I did keys over it, and then we sent it to our friend John to mix it.
There's a video that Mr. Kingpin posted where it's like you're on keyboard and he's saying Esteban's pulling an all-nighter to get his part, and you look kind of crazy, and you're just like playing.
Yeah, it was towards the end of me living in LA, because my goal was to get all my sessions out before I move, so I don't have to instantly fly back and have to do something, because I was going to be in Oregon for at least a month or something, so I could move in and get comfortable. So I had a piano in my studio, and I had my Nord, and I had a couple other pieces of keys to record. And I think I had just quit both my jobs. I was working as a online retail guy at Vaughn's, and I was working as a caregiver overnight. And I recently quit both jobs, so I had like a whole month of just catching up. And so for towards the end of that month, I was recording keys for Kingpin, and then like the last week of that, or even the last day of me living in LA, was when I was recording. Like if I left on a Friday, like that Wednesday before, I was recording organ for Ordinary Life. My Oregon session for Nice One didn't happen, so Tim gave me the raws and just told me record them from wherever I'm gonna be at, and so then I took everything with me. So I was recording like 3 albums back to back to back before I left LA. Like that same week, within that same week, I recorded Nice One, Ordinary Life, and the Kingpin album.
I want to jump forward a little bit. In 2021, you were touring with We Are the Union, and their van got broken into. And right after it happened, or what was it? The day of it happened. You were at Berkeley. The band was playing, opening for Slackers, and Adam and I were at that show. So we were kind of experiencing your guys's, immediate reaction to this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And in your situation, you didn't just lose equipment, right? There was like Can you tell a little bit about what happened for you, or if you're comfortable with that?
Oh yeah, I'm comfortable. Yeah, I mean, it's like I definitely talked about it in therapy, so I'm like super comfortable about it now. So we got our stuff stolen, and at first I was thinking like, okay, my backpack's stolen, and I lost the Matamoska files because Matamoska is. We're now, thank goodness, I managed to recover some of the files, and I got to re-record a bunch of the stuff. We're like basically done with our new album. We just need one more song for vocals, but at the time we were like, man, I lost all those files. We're gonna have to re-record everything. And then it was kind of like slowly. I was like, oh, I lost my, my extra pairs of clothes. Oh, I lost my Switch. Oh, I lost my games. And then it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh, I lost my green card. I lost my residency card. And I'm looking at it, and then I just started crying. I mean, and everyone in that van heard me fucking sobbing, and I did apologize for crying like that, but it's just like you just lost a part of you. It's it sucks as an undocumented immigrant to lose something that important, and you kept it in your backpack in your van with the idea that you're gonna have it somewhere safe, and that's the reason I didn't want to take it out because I am the type of guy who loses things in their pockets, and I take things out of my pockets and I misplace them. So, um, it was heartbreaking. It was just incredibly heartbreaking. And like, thank goodness now I am in the last steps of fixing that, and getting my 10-year residency, which now because I've been in the country for a while legally, I could officially apply for citizenship, which that would probably happen within the next year or so. So I'm happy for that. It all had a happy ending, but I remember the terrible feeling that happened when that like it was so overwhelming. I couldn't fight the level of grief that I had, and I tried being strong. Like when everybody was kind of losing their shit, I was very like it's like somebody died in front of us. We're like, let's be calm, let's be okay, let's be cool. And then the minute I realized I lost something, it's like an immeasurable grief that just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I just started crying about it. It was crazy.
You came to the U.S. to L.A. When you were about 3 years old, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, 3 going to 4. So it was back in 1996.
And so you were you ended up becoming a dreamer, right? You got accepted
Yeah,
to DACA at some point.
yeah. My brother and I were like considered like the first streamers when the the act got passed.
I see. And so now I'm curious what that was like. And was there a point when you lost dreamer status when you got older?
Yeah, there was the point, and I mean a lot of it was out of my own doing, to some say.
How so?
So I got my card when I was 20, and then I applied for my first job, and then while I was working my first job, I ended up getting wet reckless. I was drinking and driving, and I was underage, and I was without a license. I was an idiot. It happens, you know. Everybody has a story. Um, and this and this that affects your status. You know, it either elongates it or it just makes you unavailable to have something. People with DUIs cannot get dreamer status, and then I was just lucky enough that the judge that had giving me the verdict or the sentence or whatever. He was really nice to me, and he saw me, and he looked at me, and it was weird 'cause he kind of looks like the Kentucky Fried Chicken guy. He had like the same beard and the same face structure. I just remember that, like, oh, the chicken man helped me out, you know. And I'm serious. He looked at me, and he had the glasses, and he had the white hair, and I'm like, this guy looks like he's a Kentucky Fried Chicken guy. He's Colonel Sanders. And he looked at me, and he looked at my sentence, and he looked at me like in shock, like this kid was drinking and driving and without a license. And he looked at me, and he goes, drinking a little too much, huh? And he started laughing, and he goes, you know what, man, I'm in a good mood. This is supposed to be like a felony, but I'm just gonna give you an infraction. Just don't do that again. 600 hours and pay $1,200. And that was like a blessing. But the thing too is that I still had an SR22 on my car, and I was banned from having a license for a year. So I didn't get my official legal license till I was 21 from the DMV. So I was a late bloomer when it came to that.
During that year, were you driving without a license?
Yeah, definitely. My mom tells me, she's just like, you can't drive without a license. I go, what do you mean? I got hands and I got legs. What do you mean I can't drive? Like, I got places to go. I got shows to play. So this might be self-incriminating evidence, but I mean, come on, it's like 10 years ago. What's gonna happen now?
Nothing now.
Yeah. So this that happened, and so I had I still had my residency still fresh, so I have X amount of years going on, left into my residency. They're not gonna cancel it. They're just gonna let me live it out until it expires. And I had this job working at a I worked as a bus boy at a adult bar, and I was 21. It was a job with my uncle, or one of my really close friends that I called my uncle, but he got me in saying that I was his family. So he got me this job, and it paid really good. It was really good money. And then the time came when my residency or my permit was about to expire, and I had to tell my job, and then they told me, well, unfortunately, due to X reasons, we can't have you working here with an expired workers permit. So I worked till my last day of my workers permit. They let me go, and then it took me a really long time to get my workers permit again. I didn't get it maybe for like another, I don't know, 2 years. And the whole time that was happening, I swore that I was not gonna work a warehouse job anymore. Because before DACA, I was working my warehouse job, which is the reason I started throwing shows. And that was when I was working like incredibly hard jobs. I was working event setup. I was working furniture setup. I was working so many backbreaking jobs and doing things that kids my age at the time, 17-year-olds, shouldn't be doing to make money to afford college. And I still think about undocumented immigrants nowadays, and we're subjected to having such harsh work conditions for peanuts, when we're working fields and we're working jobs that typically other people do not like to work, so we could make ends meet for our family. So yeah, I mean, I would like to say that immigration and immigration policy is a very soft spot in my heart, because
Yeah.
it's something that I lived through, and I lived a really rough. My family we were subjected to a really rough upbringing. As a kid, I thought it was okay, it was normal, but like I lived in a flower shop, and I took bird baths as a 15-year-old to get ready to go to a ska show. I slept on a roof with cockroaches and rats with my brother. And then, on the weekends, I'll be on the streets because I didn't want to be home. I didn't want to be home, living in a roof, eating bread. So I would escape, through going to shows and staying over friends' houses. it's a rough life. It was a really rough life, and nowadays, like I think about it, and I use that trauma that I have, and I use it as a focal point, as of creative release, or to try and be an inspiration to people, saying, hey, you know what, people like me, they go places if you just put your mind to it. You got to just refocus your energy into doing positive things, or into doing art that's beneficial to people.
Now, when you lost your job at 21 or 22, didn't you basically make money by selling buttons, like starting a company, Brixton Buttons?
Yeah, look at this guy, fucking Nardwar over here, Scarward, Scaward. Yeah,
But you
yeah.
didn't want to go back to the warehouse, like you said. So you said, I'm gonna sell buttons to bands.
I'm gonna sell buttons to bands. My best friend and the singer of Matamoska, he's the one that told me. I remember we were at a rehearsal and I was telling him this predicament, like, "Hell, I'm gonna be out of a job." And I think he said it as a joke, but I think he was serious, because he was just like, "Just make buttons, man." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Yeah, man. If you sell, 100 buttons at $25, that's 25 cents a button. If you buy the merchandise, that for a whole bag of 1,000 buttons, that's $50. You're only wasting 5 cents per piece, and you're making 25 cents profit." And I made all the math, and I'm like, you know what? I actually could make some money out of this. Like 200 buttons will break even, and I'll make my money back, and then I have 800 buttons to make, and I can still make $200 extra. So I started promoting myself, and I started doing this thing, and people were really responsive. They were responsive, really, yeah, really receptive, really responsive, and they were asking for buttons, because it was just competitive and efficient, like merch prices. Like I would drive to people, or I would ship for cheap, or people would come to me, and I'll just give them buttons, and I got better at it too, to the point where I could just I could knock out 1,000 buttons, in almost in a day and a half, 2 days if I was given, and it became pretty cool. And then like during that time while I was making buttons, I was also like, that's when I started really, really grinding on playing with eight. I was playing from 5 to 8 bands to get paid. That's when I started actually asking for payment for shows, because before that I played shows for free. I mean, you got to think about that. So between the ages of 17 to 21, I was playing shows just for free. And then from 21 and on, I was just like, you know what? I got to get paid, because I got to afford tuition. I got to charge tuition. And I was doing buttons, and then I was doing full time college, and then I was, Thursday to Sunday, I was just gigging every single night. I was doing the 3 hour bar gigs with this band called Debate, or with these other bands. I was doing the Thursday nights at the Slide Bar. I was there's nights where I had 3 gigs a night, where I was playing in San Diego one day, playing in San Diego in the morning, playing Riverside in the afternoon, and then playing the Valley in the night, and then I'll be back home by 3 in the morning. Like I was just doing stuff like that, and at the same time trying to maintain my grades in college, and I was still ranking. Like I graduated with like a B+ GPA, which is like commendable. I mean, doing the damn thing, and I graduated debt free. Thanks to that.
So when after that Berkeley show, or at the Berkeley show where the van got broken in for We Are the Union, I believe you told me that this was the third craziest thing that happened to you on tour.
Yeah, this is the third. I think this is the third craziest thing. The first craziest thing that happened was the study. So I wasn't in the van, but I wasn't in the van, but my band, the Study 45s, we were touring with Bandulus. They got hit by a car going about 120, 100. Like we were going about 120. The car hit the trailer, and the trailer hit the van, and then the trailer flew and it dragged the van, so the van and the trailer flipped, and it flipped to the side of the desert. And this was on the freeway from going from Yuma to Phoenix, and it was disastrous. It was like, man, this is calamity right here. This is crazy.
What was everyone okay?
Yeah, there was just a ton of hurt equipment, and then after that, the 45s, I think they chilled out on doing that much touring, just because they just want to be safe, and they got a little more like tour conscious.
Yeah.
What about the guy in the car going 120?
The guy. So apparently, the guy was high on promethazine, and he didn't even know what was going on. He was like, "What's going on?" And the guy got arrested.
I wonder where he is now.
I don't know. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
And then I mean, it could probably be it could probably be the competitor for second or first worst thing. But my first actual tour that I booked was Matamoska on the 3045s, and when I played Seattle for the first time, we were playing at this place called the High Dive, and I was expecting one of my friends to meet up with me. He didn't show up, and he was kind of quiet with me for a while. And I was, trying to see what was going on. If he's gonna meet up with me, and we're gonna hang out. And after the show was kind of a bum, but whatever. We were like, okay, well, nobody knows who Matamoska is and 3045s are at the time. And when I got to where we were gonna stay at, my friend announced that he had cancer in his esophagus, and that was probably one of the worst news that I got, or one of the worst news that I've seen. And it was terrible. It's terrible knowing that you want to be there for somebody, and then you were just powerless to be there because you're 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like emotionally, I was just like, man, this shit sucks. Like, I wish I was there with my friend to cheer him on. Fortunately, he passed. I did go to see him. I did
Sorry
go to
to
see
hear
him. No, no worries, man. It's already been years. I mean, it happened 2016. But this I definitely put that as the worst thing that happened on one of the worst things to happen on tour, because I was on the road when I heard the news. So yeah, and so the next I got my green card jacked, and so I was just like, yeah, I'm a calamity on the road. I don't know, man. Like, some people have told me that I'm bad luck on the road.
Well, here's a tour story I want you to talk about. I'm not really totally sure of the details, but you're stuck in a state, and I think you have to stay behind with the van while the rest of the band goes on, and you have to stay with the van to get it fixed.
Yeah. Okay.
Fill me in on the rest of the story.
So this might be.
Is this number 4?
It's one of. I mean, there's so many. I'm telling you, I don't want to scare anybody in the bad time tour, but if you're gonna jump on the van with me, you gotta fucking be ready for whatever's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be so nonchalant about it, like, yeah, it happens. It's just gonna be like, oh, it's normal. Let's just try and get through this and get to the next gig. Okay. This might be a little bit of like, I don't know if it's trigger warning, but so Matamoska, we were on tour with Be Like Max. That's just kind of how it was. That's just kind of, this before all this thing happened. We were on tour with them, and they Be Like Max was cool enough to take us to Denver. It was our first time in Denver, and on our way, and before Denver we played Salt Lake, and I was with my singer, and I was with a couple of my bandmates, and our van started acting weird. There was an exhaust issue and something's going on, or we couldn't figure out what's going on. But it left us to go from Reno to Salt Lake City going 40 miles an hour. So you could only imagine how long we were on the road for. And we made it to the Beehive Social. We played the Beehive Social, and we were just talking about the van. We were like, well, we got to get to Denver. We're just gonna go really slowly. We ended up taking the van to Denver, and we barely ended up making our set, and we played a set. The next day, the van's not being responsive, and we're worried. We're like, what's going on? And then we take it to a Fleet. I think Fleet fixes trucks, and they fix vans, and they fix all sorts of cars. So we take it to the Fleet, and I skip out on one of the dates. They let the Matamoska guys jump in with the Be Like Max guys because they have a big enough van and they fit them. And I go, I'm gonna stay. I'm a keyboardist. You don't really need a keyboardist. You have horns. You have guitars. Do your thing. And I spent an extra day in Denver, and then the Fleet guy says, "You're not gonna be able to make it out today. This is a tomorrow fix for sure." So I stayed there an extra day, and I ended up hanging out with one of my friends, Daniel. He's in Italy now. He's a cool guy. So the next thing you know, I get there 6 in the morning. The guy says the van is ready, and the Be Like Max guys and the Matamoska guys, they're on their way to El Paso, and I tell them I'm gonna be there in El Paso. I promise you I'll be there by right before our set. And everyone's telling me, dude, it's a far drive. You're not gonna make it. Just make it, but don't rush it. And at this point, I just get like I'm just in this mindset where I'm just like, I'm indestructible. If if this tour was gonna kill me, it should have killed me days ago. It should have killed me years ago. There's so many things that happened to me. I'm pretty sure I could get through this. So I literally just like I get on Wi-Fi and I download the entire discography of Tokyo Ska Paradise Orchestra, the entire discography, all 10 albums and all the live albums, everything. And I'm like, this should be enough material to get me through the entire run. So I start from album 1, and it was I made it from Denver to El Paso in 10 hours, and I was going at some point. I'm taking this giant diesel bus, and we're going like 100 miles an hour. So we're like a bullet. We're just cutting down. We're just cutting down. I'm just trying to make it to El Paso. And there was some point where I was so close to El Paso, but it started raining super hard. And I'm just like, holy shit, I'm gonna die. Holy shit, I'm gonna die. But I'm at least listening to my favorite band, so I'm just on the sick one. I'm just like, I'm going, I'm fucking ripping through fucking the traffic, ripping through everything. And I start hydroplaning. And I'm just like, oh shit, I'm hydroplaning on a fucking bus. This is gonna suck. But I just kept speeding, and then I just cut through. And I barely made like my set with the bands. And yeah, it was scary. I mean, thinking about it now, it's just like, dude, I wouldn't do it. Like in my sound mind, in my sound, like right now that I'm sound and sane and normal, fuck no, I wouldn't do it. That's fucking stupid.
The shit you do on tour.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm down. I'm a liability, but I'm fucking down. Like, I'll do whatever.
All right, Bad Time Records bands.
Get ready.
You've been warned.
Yeah, we're gonna. It's gonna be Bad Bitch Records by the time we're done.
Don't go anywhere. If you want to hear the rest of this conversation, head over to our Patreon. Thank you for listening to In Defense of Ska. Please rate and review this podcast and tell a friend. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at In Defense of Ska. Pick up Aaron's book, In Defense of Ska, at your local bookstore or online. This podcast is edited by Chris Reeves of Ska Punk International. This is your co-host, Adam Davis of Omnigon, leaving you by saying ska now more than ever. Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien.
¿Y tú? I'm working on my Spanish because
Oh, yeah.
Esteban,
Are you taking
I'm just Duolingo. That's it.
Duolingo?
Yeah. Every time I see Esteban, though, he's like, tests me.
Oh, yeah?
Sees that my Spanish hasn't gotten any better. I'm trying though. It's not very good. But it's free.
It's free.
You know what's not free though?
What?
But it doesn't cost a lot is our Patreon. And this week, behind the curtain, Esteban tells a story that we have to keep so under wraps that we can't even tell you what it is in this outro.
Yeah.
But you're going to want to head over to the Patreon to
Real
get
talk,
this story.
Yeah. This is probably one of, if not the best, like behind the curtain extended interviews we've ever done.
Absolutely. And we can't even tell you what it is because we'll get in trouble.
Yeah.
So you're just going to have to go listen to it for yourself. And when you go over there, you're basically going to be sworn to secrecy. Mm-hmm. So if that doesn't pique your curiosity, I don't know what will.
Yeah.
So head on over. Patreon, In Defense of Ska. Next week, we have a ska legend.
Ska legend. Oh my God.
Who could it be?
We rarely have ska legends on this podcast, so I'm very curious.
I mean, you kind of said everybody's a ska legend, but this is like legit a ska legend, okay?
Yeah. Legit, or maybe not.